We're the Young Indy Chroniclers podcast, and we're producing a new feature-length documentary, George Lucas, The Lost Golden Age.
George Lucas was going to do this Lawrence of Arabia scale epic on a 16mm budget.
You got a chance to have the same adventure making the show as what Indy was doing.
His stuff is really quite political.
You didn't think I was going to run, did you?
I learned that when George says he wants to ultimately change or fix something, that he was going to do it.
We built a Kickstarter campaign to support the film. Late pledges are available now at Kickstarter.com.
Indiana, we are simply passing through history. This is history.
Welcome to the Young Indy Chroniclers, a podcast about the making of the show, The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which first aired on ABC in 1992.
Kept thinking about what was Indiana Jones like as a young man. I came up with this idea of him seeing the world through the eyes of a soldier and a secret agent.
Over the course of our podcast, we're going to talk to a whole host of very talented people who either worked on this show or were there from the beginning.
We were able to shoot it on location in the real places where these events took place.
Oh, make it up as you go. Oh boy, that's great advice.
We hired some of the best European directors, a whole host of very, very talented people.
I'm your host, Peter Holmstrom.
And I'm Daniel Noah, and this is the Young Indy Chroniclers.
There's only one rule, Indiana. Stay alive.
Welcome back to the Young Indy Chroniclers, the one and only podcast focused specifically on the Young Indiana Jones television series and franchise. I'm your host, Peter Holmstrom, and joining me on this adventure of a lifetime is Mr. Daniel Noah.
We're at the Knights of the Round Table, Peter.
A great man once said, "Peace be the journey." That's for all you Cool Runnings fans out there. In Young Indiana Jones, George wanted to explore the nuance and complexities of war and peace in the early 20th century. Going through the journey and yet keeping the theme in mind of the show, which is a reverence for life. But so often, peace treaties are rarely ever about saving lives, but more often about benefiting the one percenters who are organizing them. A couple of instances of peace treaties being talked about in the show. We talked about one previously about the Paris Peace Conference, but we decided to talk about two other peace treaties that were discussed and proposed in World War I. We have a returning guest joining us here today, our good friend Sergio. Sergio, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me again.
On the previous show, we talked about how Sergio is a diplomat. He works for the Argentinian government, and I will reiterate that he is not here representing the Argentinian government. And all of his statements are do not reflect the current political climate in the world. So,
or they may or may not.
Yes, we never know, but what's it?
So, Sergio, we're here to talk peace treaties in Young Indiana Jones. First of all, I just ask a general question, like as you were revisiting these two episodes we're going to talk about today, what was your initial, your thoughts, your receptions?
Well, I have mixed feelings with these two. The first one, the Austria one, and Russia, is pretty solid. It's bringing some chapters of World War I that are not often talked about. And the second one, I found it like the weakest link of the series. Very.
Let's be clear what episode you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So the first one we're talking about is Austria in 1917, which is where they go to Vienna to try to make a separate peace with the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Mm-hmm. And then the second one you watched is Istanbul. Which is in Mass of Evil. And actually, I think you're talking about the full 90-minute feature version.
Yes.
And you're criticizing the second half. And why don't you tell our viewers what the second half of that is about?
Well, you are correct. This is a 9-minute feature, and the second part is Indy fighting Dracula.
I don't know why I didn't like it.
That's a lot.
No, I didn't say I didn't like it. I found it very fantastic, if you know what I mean. It's even for Indy, it's a little too much. But considering the effects that they have, or the budget that they have, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
but still.
What else can I do for you?
Yeah, they were pushing the envelope a little bit.
Fair enough. But we were specifically thinking of the first half of that movie, which is indeed a lot of things happening in that episode, but a subplot is he's tasked with approaching Mustafa Kemal, who is a true historical figure, a leader in Turkish history, with an offer of peace from the French government.
Maybe people will know him by his other name, which was Atatürk. He was the father of the Turkish democracy.
At the end of World War I, the Ottoman Empire paid the ultimate price for choosing the wrong side. The winners, Britain and France, marched in and began to carve it up. Then an army arose out of nowhere, expelled the invaders from its homeland, and proclaimed the Republic of Turkey. All because of one man, Mustafa Kemal, or as he came to be known, Ataturk, father of the Turks.
A very controversial figure.
At the same time, Kemal was battling British and Allied troops on the empire's western edge. The government turned its wrath on its own subjects in the east, Armenians.
The Armenians, who were a major ethnic community, a minority, a Christian minority in Eastern Anatolia, wanted to have independence. The Turkish reaction to that was really no tolerance at all. With no tolerance at all, they decided to deport the Armenian communities, and deportations turned into a major massacre.
Between 800,000 and 1 million Armenians, maybe more, died. Many were deliberately slaughtered. Many starved or froze to death. The Ottoman Empire's legendary ethnic and religious tolerance died alongside the Armenians.
But he was a statesman. And I was doing some research about this episode, and there is no evidence of that proposal.
Interesting.
What is this? This is not from the French government. It is signed by an officer in French intelligence. What is your position in all this?
These are not the terms which I was given to believe.
Terms? This document doesn't offer terms. It's a barefaced bribe. If I will agree to give Syria to France and hand over our border states to the Allies, then the French will help me to overthrow the Sultan and Enver Pasha and put me in charge of a puppet republic.
So I found particularly interesting that they choose to tackle that chapter of history, because at that point he was part of the, let's say, revolutionary movement, if you want to call that, but he wasn't like a key figure. Right. And he was being posed in different places by the emperor, so it was like, I want to know the background of this particular episode.
Well, what's interesting about this, the narrative, is what it's suggesting is, Indy sort of goes there and says, well, what if we had a separate piece? And then when he brings the offer, the whole thing of the episode is, well, this is actually more of a bribe from French intelligence. This isn't really an offer of peace.
Yes.
And then, of course, the mystery is, and it's never resolved because you don't know, has the letter been switched?
You said there was a double agent. It was one of our people.
Wolf. This is all wrong.
What's wrong?
This isn't what we expected from headquarters at all.
Yeah.
Right? In this sort of espionage environment we're in, there's some confusion about, the provenance of this letter that he's bringing, and he doesn't know. He has no way of knowing if this is a legitimate offer, and I believe he says in the episode is he can't accept this.
There's no way he could have accepted this.
And what was the offer?
If this would fall into the wrong hands, it'd be branded as a trade. His influence over the Turkish army would be completely destroyed.
What does it say?
I can't tell you, Nico. I can't tell any of you.
This is no good, right?
Yeah, well, remember that they were, suspecting everyone. That they would, obviously there was, an infiltrator on the group, but they were like suspicious of everyone.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the what was it called? The red envelope, the red letter.
Red document.
The red document. Thank you. Yeah.
Not red matter from Star Trek.
No. Let's not go there. So yeah, the whole thing with the red document that it disappears midway during the episode. You're right. You never know that the thing that he got later was the real document that it was switched with that proposal that ended up being rejected by Ataturk.
I think it's a great testament to the storytelling. You know, it goes right back to film noir in many ways. So often the MacGuffins in a lot of those classic film noirs are just non-existent. They're air. You know, it's to quote the Maltese Falcon, it's the stuff that dreams are made of, right? And it's like Indy wants a piece so bad he's willing to believe it. Whereas other people in the group, they want something that's going to further their career, that's going to get them rich, whatever. And it's just really interesting that they made that choice to be like, it was never real. None of it was real, but people are dying because of it.
Yeah. And you always need that particular individual who wants peace at any cost. That's Indy in this case. He's like really pushing, he's really fighting for it. Because at that point, he already suffered, the worst part of the world. So he was like, I want this to end as soon as possible. And he will do anything to that end, which is like, part of the hero journey.
In that episode, you can kind of tell it's a later, I don't know if the season 10 was season 2, but later season 2 episode because it's a little more complex than some of the episodes earlier in the run. You know, you have the spy drama, right? So you have all the guys, the different men, and they're kind of interesting group of characters right out of one of those noir movies. You know, as a Peter Lorre-esque guy and all that.
You still have the red document?
Why?
Headquarters wants to know. Is it here? Is it safe?
It's not here, but it's safe.
You're going to need help in this, Henry.
And then you have the diplomatic plot with Mustafa Kemal, with the Ataturk. Like, you know, most of the other characters not in that plot. It's really Indy and him and that relationship.
A German officer said to me the other day at the palace, Turkish soldiers always run away. I said Turkish soldiers never run away unless their officers run away first. And in this case, their officers are mostly German. Write it down, print it.
Then you have the love story component.
Halide says she's afraid things are going to be very bad for Turkey when the war is over, and she wants me to stay and help out at the orphanage.
Oh. I was hoping that you'd come home with me.
To Sweden?
Yes, to Sweden. Molly, will you marry me?
Yes.
I always felt it was something in the way it was dubbed.
Don't you know I'd follow you to the end of the earth?
Because it's, you know, a lot of that show, we all know the audio is done later, and something about the recording of Molly, something about the quality of it, it always rang as a little false. I think hurts the story more than the story deserves.
Oh, involve me? Did you know that Halide said that to the Turks, I am an enemy alien? And if I put one foot wrong, I could be deported. You know how much my work at the orphanage means to me, and you involve me with a French spy.
My name is Henry Jones. Most of my friends call me Indy. I'm American.
I actually think it's a really compelling story, and although Indy, I always want to be like, what exactly were you planning when you're like not telling her who you are? Like, how do you see this going?
Molly.
So your father isn't a professor in Sweden?
Princeton.
Did you tell me anything that was true?
Yes, Molly. Molly, I told you that I loved you. You know that's true.
What? You know, you're gonna just be this guy now? Yes, exactly. You're like, I'm gonna move back to Finland or wherever he's supposed to be from, Iceland.
Sweden.
And like, just you're gonna take her, or you're gonna go take her to America and you can pretend to be Swedish? Yeah. Is your English gonna improve at some point?
I didn't dare buy you a ring, but I got you this present at the bazaar. It's a bracelet. It's very old.
Like, I never quite understood that.
Yeah, there was no future there.
But I bought that he was really into her, and like he seemed into her, and I actually liked the way it dramatized. There's that whole scene where they're discussing the fact that they've slept together, and she's sort of confronting the the values of the time and how it was out of step.
Yeah.
And the show doesn't tackle those things directly often.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. And it in the true horror movie tradition, like there's this sense of like, oh, you've lost your virginity and
now you're gonna die.
You know, like, and I love the gypsy woman.
Yeah.
And by the way, the marrying of those two episodes, both featuring a gypsy, which
you're right,
like is great. I remember the first time I saw it. In not being aware, perhaps at the time, of exactly the logic behind these combinations. Like I knew that clearly different stories had been combined, but not aware that they'd all been made, and then later they decided, right? Like it seemed like there was this through line of the fortune teller.
She wants to tell your fortune.
Oh no, Nels, I can't.
Come on, I love these fortune tellers. They always tell you what you want to hear. You have to ask her a question.
Will our love last forever?
Seven. Il suo futuro lo vuole conoscere.
No, grazie.
La carta della giustizia. Il suo rivale. Ah, il diavolo.
Signora!
Lasciatemi.
Death? Who's death? Aspetta! Signora!
That it was binding this together in a really cool way.
Well, I always read that was one of the additional shoots later on. The
it was added later
in the interstitial.
The gypsy for in the second
Dracula.
half. It could be.
Yeah. So
actually could be. I don't know. And that would be cool. If so, what a great way to do it.
Yeah. I was ordered to report to the Allied headquarters in Venice, where I'd be involved in a secret mission in collaboration with American Army intelligence. As I glided through the Venetian waterways, an eerie feeling crept into my being. A feeling of dread, a feeling so deep, so profound, that I wanted to flee, to find some place safe to hide, some place where this feeling couldn't follow. I've been in the spy business for several years now, but nothing I had done previously prepared me for the disquieting challenge I was about to face.
Il suo futuro.
And then it's like, okay, I'm walking through the streets of Venice, and then I got to go up this hall, and it's a long sort of intro, and it feels like the gypsy element is like, oh, we're actually tying it back to that, but also foreshadowing.
We should get our hair. I'm sure we can find, because that one did air.
It never actually aired in the States. It aired in Europe.
We got to find a copy. We got to find out because obviously the scene with Vasily is added, which is cool because he's in the first half.
Luckily, there is an alternative. American intelligence in Venice have requested he be assigned to them. The request is urgent. I take it you approve.
The sooner he goes, the better.
Then, we are agreed.
I think you shouldn't go.
Since when do I have a choice?
Last night I had a dream.
Yeah, well, at least you got some sleep.
The dream was about you. I saw you in a place surrounded by water. Then the water turned to blood. It became a whirlpool. You were sucked into it. A vortex of whirling blood. You sank. The blood closed over you. I saw you drown.
Look, Vasily, I'm not in the mood for any of your superstitions.
This was not superstitious. This was evil.
And then the scene when he meets the major, whose character I forget, in the second half is obviously from the original.
Mm-hmm. When I heard that there was an American serving in French intelligence, I had a hard time believing it. When I heard this American was 19 years old and spoke 26 languages, I decided to see for myself.
27, sir. I could give you a demonstration.
You'd bore me. I speak 32.
The scene when he meets the aide-de-camp outside. We're talking about Adventures of the Secret Service and Massive Evil. Mm-hmm. That scene is in both of them with a different audio performance.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So the protracted, some of that journey you're talking about is in both, and the room is the same, and he has a very similar conversation. Yeah. That's slightly different. It's quite possible that they did, for Flannery's side, that they shot 2 takes, and maybe they knew that these were 2 things. We're just going to use the same location. We're going to bang this out. Yeah. And then even the other guy, same actor, different voice. Yeah. That they also knew we're gonna change this up in post. I would again love to talk to someone who knows.
Name? Captain Defoe, sir.
My wife gave me this for my birthday. It broke. I can help you, sir. Colonel Waters is expecting you. The Colonel Waters, sir? Yes, Captain.
Sì, fossero sono stati soldati italiani.
Name? Captain Defonce, sir.
Colonel Dupuy is expecting you.
The second in command of French intelligence?
Yes, Captain. Defonce is here.
No, truly. And the other thing is, like, the Transylvania was the last filmed footage with George Hall.
Now do you believe in ghosts?
No.
I want your blood.
So that was the last bookend that was shot for the series.
Which is a fun bookend. I wish I'll cut it.
But I found both episodes, I mean, the transition in both episodes really organic.
Yes.
There is nothing forced. When you mash two episodes together, there is, you take, it's like, people will be able to tell where the stitches are.
Right.
But in this case, it feels like a movie.
Oh my God, Molly? Molly?
I came to say, I just want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Molly? Molly? Molly?
Naturally, the loss of an innocent life is to be regretted. But the operation has been a wonderful success. Headquarters is delighted. Congratulations, Captain Defonce.
So there is nothing like this. This is another episode. No, it's like it goes with the flow.
It's so interesting to say that because I actually feel the exact opposite.
Unfortunately, the Kaiser got wind of what the Emperor was up to and hauled him over the carpet. Gave him a real dressing down. Defonce, what am I going to do with you? Let's consider your future over a drink. What do you know about Russia?
I know they just had a revolution there. I know the Tsar was overthrown. I would imagine it's fairly chaotic,
to say the least.
I think this is it's the worst of the stitch marks to me, just because of those big tonal differences. Like, one is a kind of campy horror movie, another one's like.
Well, the episodes are different. I think
different.
what you're saying, and I kind of agree, is that they create this transition that feels like it's a part of the narrative.
Exactly.
Even though the narrative is changing.
Yes.
Like, as a 90-minute unit, yes, it doesn't really feel like a movie. But I remember watching Adventures in the Secret Service for the first time and actually, like, slowly realizing that we were transitioning to another storyline, because it was sort of smoothed.
The new government of Alexander Kerensky is trying to establish democracy. But more important, they're determined to keep Russia in the war.
You mean there was a possibility they would pull out?
There's every chance. If the Kerensky government falls, think what that would do to the German war effort.
Because, he goes back to the guy, and you're not like, you just in your mind, this is a part of the story I've been watching.
Sure.
And then that guy takes him into the next thing, and you're like, oh, this is kind of odd.
Yeah.
But
I feel the change in tone, to agree a little bit with you, is you feel it more in the Transylvania one.
One died on the way to the hospital.
And no sign of the briefcase or the red document?
Colonel Waters. Who or what did this?
Possibly. No one. With all this electrical energy. I have seen photographs of reported cases of this. The electrical impulses in the body's central nervous system can literally overheat.
Not in the Austria one.
But this isn't what we talked about at all. We spoke of guarantees, not platitudes and maybes.
I seriously doubt whether they can hold on to power until the elections.
Things have grown more and more volatile ever since Lenin returned from exile.
No, and I think the added interstitial stuff is probably the best that they filmed for the to bridge the gaps. I think, I'm not 100%, but I think even the scene with him kind of berating his commanding officer, being like, "You're just here to use people,"
that's cool.
Yeah, and it's very like they knew this was our last statement on Indiana Jones, so let's just hit it really hard. And I think it's great. It's a great scene.
Serve. No, this isn't serving. You're using people. You use people as long as it suits you, and then you throw them away. And if somebody gets hurt, well, that's just too bad, isn't it?
Captain Defense, you forget yourself.
No, I think I just remembered myself.
But it's...
Well, and by then, I believe, based on what Jonathan Hale said and what's in some of the books, that when they went to shoot the interstitials, they had already mapped out the order, the pairings, right?
Oh.
So they knew this is going to be the last spy episode, right?
Yeah.
And so anything we want to say about, as you say, spies, and this is sort of our last shot at getting it in here. And honestly, again, from the timeline, I'm not even clear. I think Morocco was shot later.
Yeah.
So like they're doing the interstitials, they might think this is the last word. They actually get another shot at it. I don't think they know that when they're doing it, you know?
Particularly interesting because someday we'll get James Luceno on the air because he wrote the book about the Mata Hari episode. But it's coupled, even in the book form, which was published in 94, I think, it includes the Verdun episode, which is how they're paired on the VHS. So I'm like, even at presumably 1992, they were already mapping out how they were going to fit these things together for a VHS.
Well,
run.
we've talked about the laser disc, which I didn't put on the table because it's so big. Even then, which came out in 93, I think, they've already been reordered.
Yeah.
So, so the Laserdisc presents them in sort of story chronological order, which is not the air order.
Right.
So that thought, even though not all the episodes are even made at that point, like they've already knowing we're going to reorder this, we're going to redo it, we're going to make an order. So like it really was a production thing. Something I in the editing the last couple episodes have been doing, realizing that because they shot both Egypt and parts of Mexico in Spain. That's why the Barcelona stuff was done so early, because they shot Spain out as a country.
Yeah.
So it actually, Barcelona is some of the most early footage. That's why Flannery looks so young.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's one of his earliest appearances in the character. You know?
I need someone who knows how to stand still. Drop your trousers.
Now listen.
I wish to look at your legs.
Don't you?
But yeah, I mean, going back to the topic of peace treaties, like we talked a little bit about Istanbul and kind of that whole dynamic. Let's shift over to Austria here for a little bit, because this is based on a real historical incident, even though Indiana Jones himself was not involved, but there was a real effort on the Austro-Hungarian Empire to sue for peace.
Yeah, and it's depicted very, very, very realistic.
The Prime Minister needs an agent for a difficult mission of the highest secrecy. It will have to be you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Defense, don't fail this time.
Yes, sir.
It was the Sixtus affair. It was the prince was like ordered to pursue this separate peace treaty or agreement.
Colonel, if you would, be sure to thank the President and the Prime Minister for us.
Gentlemen, God speed you in your efforts.
Hear, hear.
When do we leave?
Immediately. You will be supplied with false papers and, of course, an agent.
You mean a spy?
Precisely that, Major. Show in Captain Defense.
Imagine Sixtus, our very own spy. I bet he's a right ruffian. Great coarse fellow with knives in his boots and a scar across his throat. He's
probably missing an ear. I can't wait to meet him.
That's the trick cyclist we passed on the way in. We thought he was an errand boy.
With the allies, and everything went south because the foreign minister of Austria wasn't, supporting or, really behind the effort. It was like a decision by the emperor to end the war.
Oh, I agree. But there are many in the empire who would not. If I may speak frankly, there are those who would view these concessions as a betrayal. Perhaps even treasonous.
Who would dare?
The Kaiser, for one.
And it was how diplomacy was, carry on at that time. It was all secret agreement. In fact, this one is the last, example of secret diplomacy. Because after that, we have the Paris Agreement, which was the Versailles Agreement that put an end to the war. And from then on, every single treaty was like public diplomacy.
There was a very widespread public feeling that we can't go on like this, that humanity can't go on like this, that we must build institutions where nations can settle their disputes peacefully, and that if you get aggressor nations, you can have collective action against those nations.
It's the best way to do things, because you have people sit at the table, being up forward with all this proposition of this secession or whatever they want to put on paper. When you're doing secret stuff, you have to deal with the secrecy. So you have to make all the efforts to the other guy not to learn what you're doing behind the curtain, and you have to take the risk that these two guys, because they were, kids, risking their life for the greater purpose. It was achieving peace.
It's Captain Aaron Boyd to you, Second Lieutenant. And unless you're dressed for a masquerade, I fully expect to be saluted.
But at the same time, if they were caught, they were put in a position where they had to either deny what they were doing or lost their life because they were committing treason to the Central Powers.
How dare you! Just how far do you think we'd get if they searched you at the border and found this?
Would you say because of that, in those days before Versailles, that diplomacy was a bigger part of a spy's responsibility? Like, it feels like spies changed over the 20th century.
No, it wasn't a responsibility of spies. Spies were part of the game.
As for you, Captain, we can never forget all you have done for us. Our brothers are precious. I know you'll look after them.
But it was carried out by diplomats. The thing is, it was different the way they were drafting the treaties. It was like exchanging letters directly. I don't suppose a president with an emperor, and the foreign ministry was like just coming late to the party. So it was like, oh, we reached this agreement, but keep it to ourselves, and the other guys will learn about later when it's done.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's different. You go to, an international fora, you see it. Every single meeting is public. Of course, there are still secret meetings, but they are like a rarity, and for the high-level individuals, and also for really sensitive matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting, given that, like, not only is, in some ways the episode presents this piece as like a very pure thing early on, it's like we want to save lives, whatever, but the episode also succeeds in stating that, like, this is also about like an emperor and the kind of the understanding that times were changing in a way, that if the war goes poorly for them, this won't be a war that, hey, we all agree to stop fighting and we'll go back to our lives. It's a war where, like, no, we'll lose everything, and it's interesting that there was that kind of awareness about this war in particular, even though there had been plenty of other wars in history, whatever. But this one was seen as, even during the moment of, like, this will change everything.
The emperor kind of like was foreseeing the future, because he knew that if he was unable to achieve a peace, the aftermath for the Austrian-Hungarian Empire will be disaster.
I'm not merely being noble. It's not just the men in the trenches I want to save. I don't want to go down in history as the last emperor of Austria. The one who let a 1,000-year monarchy crumble through his fingers like dust.
It ended that way. That way.
That's what happened.
That's what, exactly. That's what happened. And it was important for him not only to save his constituency, but also to save the empire, and to be in a position where you can negotiate. Yeah. Otherwise, if you lose, if you are the loser, and taking into account Versailles, that the way they treat the losers, if I were him, I would be doing the same thing, without question.
Well, isn't it interesting too that once the treaty is found out, and there was quite a lot of unpleasantness about the alliance on their end for a while, the emperor, as I understand it, kind of becomes reclusive. He almost vanishes from the public eye, and in a way, it's almost he had to admit to himself that the times have already changed. I'm still here, but the politicians are in charge, and I'm not one of those people.
When my grandfather became emperor, his first goal was the search and the accomplishment of peace. And at the time, it was very courageous, but because at the time, talking about peace was not politically correct, to be very honest.
Yeah, exactly. He completely detached from the public arena. But it's interesting that before doing that, he went to Germany, and he pledged allegiance once again to the Germans and to the German war effort.
Nobody really could justifiably blame Karl for the attempt at a separate peace, except the Germans. And for that, Karl earned the revenge of the Germans, who essentially took over control of Austria-Hungary and its allies. It took control over foreign policy, war policy, and now Austria was fettered to the Germans.
So, in a way, what he was trying to do, it backfired and drag Austria further into the war.
It blew up in Emperor Karl's face because the French and English didn't know what to do with this man, and it was also his downfall because then he was kind of taken out of the equation for any kind of diplomacy.
But yeah, after that he was reclusive and tried to be away from all the political arena, because he realized that he wasn't that relevant or that important for how policy was made.
Well, it's the end of the monarchies in a way.
Oh, yeah.
The minister is really the one pulling the strings, and in the modern world, this idea of being a king or an emperor, it didn't have the same power as it used to.
It's like a lot of people talk about World War II as kind of being that end of that era, but I feel like in so many ways it was World War I that was kind of signaling that the change had already happened, that the world had just shifted, and now if there are kings and queens still left, they're more public figureheads, so to speak.
Yeah, well, remember that during World War I, we saw the fall of the Russian Empire, and after World War I, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire was no longer there. The Ottoman Empire was no longer there. The British were in their position behind the US and other powers in Europe. Germany was, empire as well, was no longer there. So the whole landscape of Europe was changed completely, and the era of the states began. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's so interesting looking back at to shift back over to Istanbul really quick, just how, trying to view it from the Turkish point of view, I suppose, but how that in some ways is the one remnant of the Ottoman Empire. It's just Turkey as a whole, even though there was a revolution and it was kind of, but it was also like maintaining a culture that, with the rest of the Ottoman Empire, when that fell, it very much became, the culture was kind of stripped out of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will go further and say that it was not only a culture, it was an identity. They were keeping their identity. And that was really important for Ataturk, and you can see that in the episode that he's talking about saving the Turkish way of life.
Yeah. If you were to make a separate peace, it would at least save lives.
These people are not interested in that. Like vultures feeding on the dying carcass of the Ottoman Empire. The empire is dying, but this nation is not. And it will not die as long as I live. 700 years of Anatolian tradition. But we must move on. I dream of an independent new Turkey. When that's a reality, your spy masters will not dare to treat me like a Mongolian warlord.
But yeah, with the rest, they suffer for a long time an identity crisis. Yeah, for sure.
And still are in so many ways. This is not definitely, the story did not end with a generation. It's still present even today.
Yeah.
Well, you think about, we still talk about George Washington, and all that stuff is 250 years ago, and this is 100 years ago.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Right. It's a completely different. We think of the rest of the world with a very short memory.
Yeah.
We think of our own world with a very long one.
Sure.
Probably true for a lot of people.
On November 10th, 1938, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk died. He was 58 years old.
Yeah, but coming with something that you said about the treaties and why it's important to have like a public eye on them. Compare what we were seeing in this episode, and I don't want to get political, but with the current situation in Ukraine, where every single meeting is public, because the stakes are so high. You need that people knowing what's going on, and also it's a way to be accountable for. Back in the day, they were doing all behind the curtain, or the average Joe wasn't aware of what's going on, what was going to happen to him. You know what I mean? Now with this current public diplomacy, you know what's happening and what are they like dealing with, and in terms of what was going to happen to Ukraine, what's going to happen to Russia. Who's gonna pay for the all the reparations, whatever. So that's why it's so important.
Isn't it interesting though that like even though they are public now, like what is the tangible positive effect of it other than just we read about it on CNN? Like
that's hard to tell.
Yeah,
that's really hard to tell. But every single treaty, for example, when they are, I don't know, a commercial agreement or a trade agreement, the effects are in the really long term. So you will not see the effect of any deal immediately, because it takes time to adjust the internal law and to, I don't know, put it into practice. It's different. When you put it on paper, it looks well, it sounds good. Right. But when you put it into practice, some things always come up, and I don't know. It's like you need to sharpen the pencil and be very, very careful when you're, applying a new treaty. And in the times of peace, it's the same. You have to demobilize troops to find a way to reinsert them into society. For example, during these major wars, where you have people that were fighting for years, and probably they were like 18, 19 years old, and now they find themselves with no purpose. Back home is quite different, because years passed between when they were posted in Europe and when they came back. So you need that, and you need to tackle all these topics when you're dealing with a peace treaty.
But isn't it so interesting too, the unintended, potentially intended arc of we kind of see three major peace treaties represented in Young Indiana Jones. The first one being from the Austria episode, where the Austrian-Hungarian Empire is very much like, guys, let's just stop fighting. Yeah. We'll each keep our riches. We'll be fine. It's okay. And that was kind of maybe an older way of thinking about peace. Mm-hmm. Then you get the next one where it's like, hey, we're winning the war, so let's just bribe some people to finish this up quicker. But there's still a positive aspect to the, quote unquote, losing side. Mm-hmm. And then you get the final peace treaty being the Paris Peace Conference, which is very much just like, you guys are fucking done. You are going to give up everything. We are going to take all of your shit, and we are the winners. And in a way, I feel like that the latter version is very much kind of the nature of a lot of peace treaties today. Whenever it is a conflict, it is a unilateral surrender more than anything.
Yeah, this it's hard to tell 100% that you're true. I mean, you're right, or is this 100% that you're wrong. Because of how diplomacy is.
Ever the diplomatic.
But I would say that, yes, for a very long time, Versailles was the blueprint. But also, and this is the highest critic the major critic to the treaty, is that the way the loser or the losing side was treated.
Leaders of the Allied and associated powers, this treaty is nothing more than a continuation of the war.
Speak up, I cannot hear.
A continuation of the war by other means.
And many people say that because of that, we had World War II.
Right.
And they kind of learned a lesson there when we had this surrender of Japan or Germany during World War II. It wasn't like that. They were trying to make them or put them in a path. They were rebuild, and they were part of the world again.
Let's expand on that a bit.
For example, this, and this is interesting. In the UN charter, Japan and Germany are still enemies of the rest of the world. But on the other hand, they are the larger partners of the US, and every single state is doing business with both.
For sure.
So being that on paper doesn't mean anything to the rest of the world nowadays. But back in the day, yes, they were the enemies. That was put on paper for a reason. Yeah. But now it's like dead letter.
Let's expand on that a bit more, and maybe you could inform us too about some of the aftermath of World War I, because we think about the Paris Peace Conference and the way it's described in the show, some of the history lessons. Like the government is de-established, the people are made to demilitarize essentially. My understanding, though, is there's not an occupational force left.
No, there wasn't.
So whereas post-World War II, both Germany and Japan were occupied for, I think, at least close to 20 years or so. And loosely, one could argue, I'm no expert, of course, but like one could argue the reason why we have so much trade with them now is that was kind of orchestrated. The trading routes were forced to be laid as opposed to negotiate.
Yeah, you can say that, but also before the war, there was some trade between both countries or the rest of the world. Argentina was having many investments from Germany that were taken by the government during World War II. Later, Japan also was investing there. So the war was making deals with them. But I can see where you're going with that. That you can think that, okay, this is the way we are gonna force ourselves into those countries by setting foot there first. I think the idea of setting occupation forces in both countries was to prevent them to become a threat again, more than the trade aspect. And also, in the case of Germany, was to have a stronghold at the doorstep of the communist world. So yeah, in the case of Japan, was mostly to prevent them to rearm and become a threatening force to the rest of the world.
The end of World War I is in 1919, and World War II starts in 1939, so it's 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Today, 20 years ago, is 2005. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there's really been, that there's a significant difference in world leadership between today and 2005. Like, some key figures have passed away, but yeah. So was there a major difference between 1919 and 1945 or 1939? Like, what led to the different approach that was taken in the 40s?
That's a very good question. I don't think I have the tools to answer that, but I will make the effort. I think the evolution of democracy is one aspect. The evolution also of the presidential figure, or the role that the presidents were playing after World War I. Also, I think the rise of Nazis, like in a way, unify the world differently than what happened when World War I started, because it is a different scenario if you want to consider both wars. I don't know. I wasn't there in 1914, but I imagine the people weren't like aware. I mean, outside Europe, what was happening. But I think that in 1939 they were. And especially after 1945. But if you want to put your finger on something, I think the evolution of democracy is what changed it.
Yeah, the world was more democratic by 1945, and hopefully democracies are more sensitive to the plight of the average person, and so a policy that's going to create starvation, or there's a sense that we can't just leave them to their own devices. We have to maintain a force and make sure that there are provisions, and that they're not going to, like what happened in Germany in the early 20s. It's not going to happen again.
And there's something. Sorry, Peter. There is something on the Vienna episode when the emperor is talking, that he realized that the people is tired and they are expressing themselves, and the ghost of the Russian Revolution was right there.
Yeah.
Look at Russia, my God, a revolution. The Tsar deposed by his own people. And why? Because they are weary of war. They are angry and dissatisfied. If we want to stop the same thing happening in Austria, we have to liberalize the monarchy and give the people what they want, peace, whatever the cost.
So they were like, I don't want this to happen to me.
No, that's a great point. I mean, it's I think we forget just how many revolutions or sparks of revolution were happening all over the world. Russia obviously was a big example. We oftentimes focus in on that, but almost every country had elements of this progressive movement, or whatever, to create radical shifts. America had it as well, and a lot of that did come into the government, come into policy. But there was a sense of like the world is now more interconnected. It's more, we need to be looking out for each other in ways that previously hadn't been done. And socialism, communism are the answers we kind of remember because of all the complicated dynamics, but it was all over the world. So every single country, every single power was legitimately thinking like this could be our last year, regardless of World War I.
Yeah.
So I think it's such an interesting point.
Yeah, especially when you have empires that they think that they don't need the people's support to stay in power, because they were there for centuries. But when they realized, oh, okay, no, we need the popular support to stay in power, they started to panic first, and then try to find a way to, let's say, harvest that support, and also take into consideration that the people, as a unit, they have a voice and they have power as well.
Yeah, I think it's very important note that it's subtext, but it's in this episode, in the Austria episode, that we have on in the background here for the audio listeners. But the emperor is only ever seen in complete isolation. Like, he has his family, but it's not like he's in a castle or in an office in the center of town or whatever. It's like he's very removed. The only person we see him with really is the Christopher Lee, and that's it. And that's meant to like be like these people in high authority, like they are. And it's a returning theme in a lot of Young Indy, is this idea that the people in power have no actual connection to the people. And that causes a dismissal of the value of the people, of the individual. And so either, death and murder and whatever, it's easy for them to sign off on because they don't have to see them.
Yeah, that was the feeling at that time. They were in their Crystal Palace up there, making decisions, and the people were suffering. That was the feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel like there is any? We don't have to limit it to World War I, but since World War I is the topic here, but has there been a peace treaty that could have happened that would have ended the war sooner, would have been the best for everyone? Or is the way that it turned out, we do kind of talk down to the Paris Peace Conference, but there was a lot of positives to it. There's a lot of defenders of it, even today in the historical circles. So it's like, is that kind of the best version that could have been to end the war?
That's a good question.
It's a big one, I understand.
Yeah. No, it's a huge question, but I think the will was there. There were some people that they knew that the war couldn't last forever, but the problem is that the higher powers of the one in charge, they were so used to a way to do things that they weren't seeing the bigger picture.
One cannot start a negotiation by giving away the farm and all the livestock, can one? More importantly, if the Kaiser discovers what we are doing, we must have a fallback position.
Fallback position?
And at the end, it was up to these patriots or these heroes to pursue that effort. But I don't think there were like a real space or arena to discuss this further than that. Proposition or expression of interest, if you know what I mean. They were counting on one key player to convince the one in power to take that step, and Karl tried. The Emperor of Austria tried, and he failed miserably.
Over the next 6 months, Karl's situation continued to deteriorate. On the front lines, German and Austro-Hungarian troops were losing ground. Some of Karl's soldiers began deserting. Meanwhile, within the empire, thousands of workers went on strike. Extremists took to calling for national independence and even for Karl's abdication.
So, if you consider that, what will be the incentive or the drive to the other guys to do the same things? But because this thing was made public, later, after they exchanged letters. It was public, and it was a scandal. It cost him a lot. So I don't see any scenario when they were like trying to come with a separate peace treaty before Paris.
Your Imperial Majesty has made a wise decision.
Have I?
Well, I think we we live in it so much with this show and everything, but like this is the formative conflict of the 20th century, because it sets the table for the 20th century. And I think it's hard at this point to look back, kind of like what Gavin McKay said recently. It's hard to know what the other alternate version would be.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know, and so it's hard to say, right? One always thinks, oh, if only the old orders had held, you know, maybe if the, you know, we hadn't tossed out the customs and the traditions, life would be better. But it's like, well, if we hadn't tossed them out in the way we did, it's quite possible they would have been tossed out in a different way. Yeah. And who's to say that would have been a better way?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what if the Franz Ferdinand driver
took a left?
Exactly.
What if he turned left instead of turning right?
Yeah. Well, there is a dimension when he turned left. We all know that. So yeah, imagine that. I mean, the thing with World War I is either way it will happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that was the trigger, but it could have been any other one. Any other. I mean, they were waiting for a reason to start war because the escalation was there.
Yeah.
And in the case of World War II, the threat was real. Was more than real. It was like nothing that we have seen before. So I don't think that the world was going in that direction for no reason.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we can toy with that idea. I mean, or we can put that thread a lot and see what will be the aftermath of any other decision. Yeah. But yeah.
We'll pitch the miniseries to HBO next week. The alternate history action
they did
show.
Actually. The Man in High Castle.
Yeah, a few of those kind of shows.
Peace. World Peace One. That's what we like.
Yeah, World Peace One. Well, okay, it would be probably a boring one.
What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe some. I mean, the 20s were interesting. Yeah.
These 20s have been interesting.
These 20s, yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're halfway through them, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my God. 2025. Yeah. And we're still talking about Young Indy.
I know. It's
30 years old.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting is, you know, it's 100 years from, you know, the 20s and from when this all happened. The fact that we've been drawn to Young Indiana Jones, it feels like it has something to say to this time. You know, Cold War is in the past. The old ways are sort of behind us, and we're facing a new century where the power structures aren't as clear, and we're asking that question, you know, will we build a world where the average person is you know, taken into consideration and their needs are considered, or are we building a world for the strong, for the rich, for those who have the means to take it? And I think we're still answering that. I think a lot of this debates we're having around AI, around foreign policy, those are the questions that are being asked. And I think Young Indy, World War I, it speaks to that very keenly.
So we're fighting to protect Serbia, a tiny country no one's ever heard of. That's what this war's all about?
The industrialists, the makers of arms, have every desire to keep this blasted thing going.
Well, that's a bit strong.
Is it?
The French have offered me hardly more money than the British. If they had doubled their offer, I might have considered it.
We gave the old men victory and they threw it away. We offered them a new world and they made the old one over again. Still, it might have been worse. What? I said it might have been worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said this when I was here on the other episode, that this series particularly should have been shown at schools, because it talks about history in a way that is no one is talking anywhere. I mean, you don't find any clip on YouTube people talking about, I mean, or I don't know, making a documentary about World War I, the way that it was done in Young Indy Chronicles. So we need this to be in any streaming service we love. Maybe we don't love.
Netflix.
I mean, yes, Paramount, Disney, you name it. I mean, when you think about these two episodes, I said this before, that they were dealing with like really niche chapters of that era. That, I mean, I learned about Vienna while preparing for this episode. I never heard of it before.
If we succeed, we can put an end to this war with the stroke of a pen.
I was aware of Ataturk and what he was doing during the war, but the same. I mean, that deal with the French intelligence. No idea.
Yeah.
So it's good to have this, and I wish in the future we have it for a broader audience, not just indie fans.
Yeah. And I think, the show strives to give the point of view to the country that they're in. And I think that's something that a lot of American shows or media fails to do. It's often from the American perspective looking outward. So you see the bias towards either the American views or also just the way that history ultimately prevailed. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very interesting. And especially in these two episodes we see these people that are either fighting to preserve a way of life or to preserve an identity in case of Ataturk. But it is such a fascinating show, and a fascinating, needs to be there, because I think that's a big struggle that we're having. There's this perception that of a struggle happening. Well, I mean, it's not a perception; it's a real struggle. But it's the lack of empathy that we have for other cultures, other identities right now in America. In many ways, it feels like it's never been stronger. Even though I'm sure we could look back at history and be like, no, actually, it was way worse in the 50s, and it probably was. But it
probably was. Yeah.
But yet it still feels like right now a key point of conflict is not empathizing with other cultures and other identities, and to have a show that really talks about that, it's never been more important.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And a show that presents a hope. What I love about Young Indy, and maybe it's because of when it was made in the early 90s, but it sort of comes from this presumption that there is a way for everyone to get along. There is a way for us to live together in peace and to have that reverence for life. So I think we could use some more of that.
All it requires is everything be done in deep awareness. Good is whatever promotes life. Evil is whatever destroys it. From there, you make your own decisions.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, the need of empathy, but also feel that you are not alone. Yeah. Feel that, there is another person suffering the same, and that person could help you to solve your problem.
I leave at first light. Be ready to ride.
Tomorrow? There's one thing I have to do first.
If you are not there by dawn, I go without you.
I'll be there.
So yeah, it's really important to have this and to bring these values back to our societies, not only America, all over the world, happening all over the world. So yeah, I agree with you guys 100%.
Yeah, it's peace treaties aren't about winning a Nobel Peace Prize.
No.
Just throwing that out there.
So, okay, I have a critique to this episode, and the same thing I said when we did with the Paris Peace Conference.
They left out the Japanese.
They left out the Italians.
Italians.
Yes, in both cases. In Vienna, they were also trying to get some parts of, I think it's the Tyrol or some part of Austria. So they were like stepping in on that peace secret agreement, but they were left out. And the same with Paris. They were a huge part of the conference, and they were left. So there's someone.
Maybe Jonathan Hales has a thing, because like if you watch the Italian episode, they come off kind of as buffoons. Like, is it? We'll give you the Italian.
Yeah, someone maybe is not particularly fond of Italians. But yeah, I mean these episodes and are really good. I mean the Russian one, for example, they are talking about the July days, where it was a particularly bloody chapter towards the Russian Revolution, and it's the first time I'm seeing that on screen. I read about it, but never seen anything, not even a documentary. I think there's nothing about it.
This picture, it's labeled wrong. See what it says here? Young enthusiasts bring Bolsheviks to power. Russia, October 1917.
It's definitely the Russian Revolution. And our research department has done extensive studies.
This is not October, it's July. And these young enthusiasts didn't bring the Bolsheviks to power. They nearly had them knocked right out of the game.
Sir, if you think you know better than experts in the history of the period...
There's another thing. See that kid holding the banner there? When this picture was made, that kid had exactly 30 seconds to live. See, most people think the communists got rid of the Tsar. It wasn't so. He'd been overthrown before 1917 had hardly gotten started. The people starved and chased him right off the throne. The big question then was, what kind of government would they have instead?
I really like the role that Indy plays in that episode, particularly because he was playing the spy, but also he was being a friend.
Yeah.
And he was trying to warn these people, hey, don't go to this protest or this demonstration or whatever.
You're going to the Tory Palace, aren't you?
I'm speaking there. I'm telling them what it's like in the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to tell them. We've got to stop this war.
Don't go, Sergei.
Why not?
Stay away from the Tory Palace today.
Why?
Because he's a deserter. So? It's gonna be a dangerous place for deserters, okay?
How do you know?
You know I can't tell you that. Just trust me. Hey, are we friends?
So we're friends.
Then you promise.
All right. Promise.
Good.
They were like the ultimate fanatic or the ultimate passionate revolutionary.
Yeah.
Revolutionary. So they were trying to like, I'm gonna do this because I know this is the right time. And he had the info saying, no, this is not the right time. Yeah. And I think there he crossed a line in terms of being a spy.
Sure.
But at the same time, he was trying to save lives, which was his ultimate goal. Because he was trying to achieve peace at any cost.
Peace, whatever the cost.
Yeah, and I think the show does such a great job of I think American history books talk about the Bolshevik Revolution in such negative terms because it leads to the Soviet Union and all that stuff.
Oh, and the Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, depend of the author.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot written about the Soviet Revolution, right. And you can, depending of your political views, you can choose different authors, and they will tell you different version of it.
But I think the benefit of the show here is like these are Indy's friends, and their reasons, whether that represents the larger political spectrum, it's almost irrelevant. The point is like the individuals here that Indy is friends with, their motives are pure in a way,
Yeah.
And you can empathize with that. You can be like, yeah, it does make sense. Maybe it's a little simplistic. Maybe, you could debate it. And once you get up into the larger political spectrum, whatever, but it's like the people at the core of it just wanted change that would benefit, people.
Exactly.
And something very, very,
Well, and George loves the story of like, how does something slip into a dictatorship?
Right.
And he also loves that idea of rebellion and freedom fighters, and these things are not mutually exclusive.
And as my first act with this new authority, I will create a grand army of the Republic to counter the increasing threats of the separatists.
The Jedi Council would have to take control of the Senate in order to secure a peaceful transition.
To a dark place this line of thought will carry us. Great care we must take.
You can have freedom fighters who fight for freedom, and then it ultimately leads to a dictatorship where they have no freedom, right? Like that happens all the time, and I think that's perhaps the caution he was trying to make across a number of his properties.
Feeling all right, sir?
Just like new, Dak. How about you?
Right now, I feel like I could take on the whole empire myself.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and not just. It does happen all the time, and we see that in a large number of our political leaders today.
And there is something on the episode that you can see, and it is not talked about. There is the difference between the people, the freedom fighters, and the ones that were leading the revolution. I mean, Lenin, Trotsky. The way that they react to the threat of the government is quite different. They fled the country. I mean, Lenin, especially. Trotsky was arrested later, but Lenin fled the country, and the freedom fighters stayed.
And we also know now what Trotsky was telling the crowds at the Tauride Palace.
Which was?
Go home.
Go home?
The time is not right for insurrection. Disperse until you are called on.
Good Lord. Perhaps Lenin really was on holiday.
Are people listening to these instructions?
They just...
No, sir. Bolshevik leaders are trying to restrain the people, but nobody's taking any notice.
I'm beginning to like this. It has a smell of disaster about it.
The Cossacks are out, sir. They've decided to back the government. There's snipers on the rooftops firing on the marchers.
That, Captain, is the sort of news I like to hear.
And they fought for freedom. Lost their life. But they were being true to their values and to the cause. That's a huge difference between both of them. And I mean, what is not said aloud is that Lenin was a politician and the guys were idealists.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah. It's kind of that. And I think George does hit this in many of his films and TV shows. Is like, idealism is powerful, it's pure, it's wonderful, but it's very easily led astray.
Look, you must complete the training.
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
You must not go.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
You don't know that. Even Yoda cannot see their fate.
But I can help them. I feel the Force.
But you cannot control it. This is a dangerous time for you, when you will be tempted by the dark side of the Force.
To be angry is to be human.
I'm a Jedi. I know I'm better than this.
Your father is. Told you, did he?
Yes.
Unexpected this is. And unfortunate.
Unfortunate that I know the truth.
No.
Misa propose that the Senate give immediately emergency powers to the Supreme Chancellor.
And very easily corrupted.
I need him.
Please don't. No.
By charismatic leaders, and that's core of the prequels. That's at the core of Young Indiana Jones. It's at the core of so many things. It's like, if how easily people can be just led astray.
Yeah. I always like the line in the prequels when the Emperor said, "I love democracy."
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
And you are sitting on your seat watching that and say, "No, you don't." We all know that you don't. But that's true. I mean, that's the way totalitarian leader sees himself. Like, he's the liberator, and he is the true way, and it happens all across the board. I mean, with guys really try to achieve good things for their country, guys that take power just because they can. I mean, you have, numerous examples through history, but the way that the totalitarian leader or the dictator, or you name it, he himself is like, no, I'm right.
Once more, the Sith will rule the galaxy. And we shall have
I know how to do things.
Yeah.
And his history has proven that they are always wrong.
Yeah. Of course, though, history is 20/20 vision, and in the moment, things aren't ever so clear cut. So, the common denominator for all of humanity is like everyone just wants to get a good night's sleep tonight, and that's a unifying factor there that everyone forgets.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
Well, Sergio, you've now seen a handful of these episodes. Are you going to watch any more Young Indiana Jones episodes?
Oh, yeah, I will watch the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, I remember watching this when it was broadcast in Argentina, early 90s. I don't remember the date, sorry, guys, but I remember watching it and asking myself, why is Indy old? And how he lost an eye? And then watching Sean and Corey and say, well, okay, yeah, this is a good, approach, and to learn about the character and how he ended up being the India we saw on the big screen, and also how the trope of the fedora always coming back. Yeah. But I will watch the whole thing, and I would love to learn when he started to use the whip.
Only once in the show.
Yes.
And it's not like the beginning either. It's like a throwaway, and I don't know. 1922, I guess, after the show.
Okay. Yeah.
But jacket too. We don't know when he starts.
Yes, exactly. The jacket.
They never get there. I like to think if they had gotten as far as like some of the stories we know, that as he becomes that archaeologist and starts going, that you'd start to see some of those things, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he finds a whip really useful in the jungle, and the jacket, and who knows?
Yeah, and I just make this connection. You can say, no, you're totally wrong, but there is a connection between Young Indy and Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah, sure,
absolutely, yeah.
So the way he was like meeting all these historical characters throughout his life, and then the same thing with Forrest meeting all these people. Yeah. But I love that. I love how again it feels organic, that he was part of this like larger picture, and he was meeting all these people because they were there too. It's not like, let's bring Gandhi, or let's bring whatever and introduce you.
It's not a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Exactly.
Well, although there was an unproduced episode where he would have met Gandhi.
But in India.
Yeah. In India, yeah. He was also supposed to go to Buenos Aires at some point.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So, and also I think McCallum mentioned Colombia.
Well, I think he said they were going to shoot Colombia.
Shoot Colombia,
I'd be surprised if they were going to double.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to do something that looks like Argentina of the period, and they might have to go somewhere else to do that.
Yeah.
Or that was going to be the Amazon. Like, I don't know, who knows, but it would have been cool. Probably more authentic than the, I'm a fan of Kingdom of Crystal Skull, but the Hawaiian jungle is probably not.
Yeah. But I will definitely watch the whole thing because it's really well done.
Yeah,
it's compelling. It's interesting. It has an amazing cast. I mean, many A-list celebrities are there. I mean, Catherine Zeta-Jones, James Bond,
Daniel Craig.
There you go. So it's and it's a thing I want to show to my kids.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Dracula, but but later.
Important part of the narrative.
It's a little heavy. That scene with the blood on the curtain. I remember first time I saw that, I was surprised.
Yeah, I never understood the spheres.
Yeah, it's just supernatural power. Maybe they're spirits. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Our theory is that these are like holdovers from one of the unproduced Indiana Jones 4 scripts, which was meant to be. I'm sorry, you're right. 3. Excuse me, 3. It's the Chris Columbus script, which was Indiana Jones in a haunted house. And so there's potentially some of holdover ideas of just like, the spheres are great.
But I have to say that they were like particularly sun-resistant vampires because they were outside, like eating, or when they were on this camp.
Yeah, when they first see them in the camp.
The enemy?
I can't tell.
Yeah, that's the enemy. German and Austrian infantry. And a French officer. And a British officer. And an American. POWs?
Who else could they be?
British, French, and American soldiers laughing it up with Germans and Austrians? For Christ's sake, don't they know there's a war on?
Well, it's pretty cloudy.
It's pretty cloudy.
Yeah, but still.
Low UV rays.
Low UV.
Middle of winter, yeah.
Is this true? So the first time I watched that, I was with this guy who seemed to know vampire lore. And he said that the killing at the crossroads thing is like from old school vampire mythology. Like that they're referencing like, what do you know?
The evil can only be destroyed in one way. We'll need to move him to where the 4 roads meet.
There was a horse and cart in those stables.
And we'll need a wooden stake and a hammer.
I mean, it is and it isn't. It's present in the original Dracula book. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely that sense of like you gotta bury witches or possess people at the crossroads. I wouldn't say it's old. Like if you really want to be like nerdy about vampires, it's like the Dracula version of vampires is kind of a creation of Bram Stoker. And and to be more authentic, you'd want to do all this other kind of stuff. But like, I guess it's just old in the sense that you don't see it a lot in present vampire lore. But I'd still say it's a 19th century kind of thing.
That's cool.
But that is two things that I really like. Is the first one is that they were like full blood tepes, impaling the soldiers.
Yeah.
That's really good. And the other one is the teeth. They were like very Nosferatu.
Yeah. I'll be with you in a moment.
And not the classical
fangs.
Fangs, yes.
Yeah. It's more rat-like, I always felt like.
Yes,
more,
exactly.
Yeah.
And there is a thing that I found funny is that he's a vampire, he's killing people, but he takes the time to close the curtain. That was like, I know what you're doing that, but but you shouldn't care. You're the vampire, so yeah. And he was dragging also Indy and the girl, so you don't need to do that.
You know, modesty never dies.
But it was fun.
I love Bob Peck. He was an underrated actor. He died too soon, but he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might remember him from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah. He's in Jurassic Park. Yeah. But I didn't know he died. Yeah.
Died pretty soon after. Yeah, Jurassic Park. Yeah, it was mid 90s, I think. But very sad. He was also in a great miniseries called Edge of Darkness from the 80s, which is a really good British kind of neo-noir kind of thing. It's great.
Sounds like something Rick McCallum would have worked on.
You know, it's right. I mean, it's of that era for sure. But it's very interesting. Well, anyway, Sergio, thanks very much again for joining us here. It's been a big pleasure. Thanks for coming down, being on our new studio space here. It's very exciting.
This is great. I mean, this being in camera, it's different, but I feel really comfortable and talking to you guys. It's always a pleasure.
That's great. We'll have to have you back here soon. I guess we've done treaties. We've what's next on the historical agenda? What's the other? We'll find something.
Find something.
We'll do it. Well, listeners out there, if you want to get in touch with us, maybe throw some ideas about what you'd like to hear Sergio talk about next, you can find us at Young Indy Pod on Instagram. Pretty much all the socials. Just search for Young Indy Chroniclers. And if you missed out on supporting our Kickstarter, there's still time. We're accepting late pledges. You could pre-order a Blu-ray, pre-order a DVD, whatever you like. And that's on Kickstarter.com. Just search for our documentary, George Lucas, The Lost Golden Age. We're filming right now. Production's going great. Shooting for a May 2027 release date, coinciding with a certain anniversary. So until next time, for Dan and myself, thanks very much for being here, and keep on adventuring.
Next time on the Young Indy Chroniclers.
We're thrilled to have the assistant director, Mr. Waldo Rogue, who also is the son of the famous Nicholas Rogue.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I was working with a first assistant to do my father's film Castaway. I'm so forever grateful I had the experience of working on one of my father's pictures, and that's where I met Rick. Oh, it was fantastic being able to work on what turned out, I think, to be a film in the Eye of the Peacock. I also did Travels with My Father, The Young Indy Meets Leo Tolstoy.
We're the Young Indy Chroniclers podcast, and we're producing a new feature-length documentary, George Lucas, The Lost Golden Age.
George Lucas was going to do this Lawrence of Arabia scale epic on a 16mm budget.
You got a chance to have the same adventure making the show as what Indy was doing.
His stuff is really quite political.
You didn't think I was going to run, did you?
I learned that when George says he wants to ultimately change or fix something, that he was going to do it.
We built a Kickstarter campaign to support the film. Late pledges are available now at Kickstarter.com.